What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks so much for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here today. Congress is discussing a couple different things. One, a new virus relief package with billions of dollars more here. And also, new stimulus checks. Nancy Pelosi herself actually said that she would rather not have a federal gas tax holiday. Instead, she said she would rather have direct payments sent to the people, aka stimulus checks. So there's a lot of different things going on here right now. And remember, it's a major election year, not for the presidency, but for pretty much everything else. The House, the Senate, most states, and a lot of major city mayors as well here. So there's a lot of big things here going on here. Let's jump right in because there's really a lot to cover here. Check this out. Okay, first up, as you can see here, senators trade offers and scramble for a new virus funding deal. This is expected to be $10 billion or more because, well, funding for the actual virus and virus relief is essentially all spent. And Democrats and Republicans in Congress are trying to find a compromise here for new funding. Yeah, you could see Republican Senator Mitt Romney there is actually part of the lead here for the Republicans in the Senate. Yeah, as you can see here, senators are swapping offers as they scramble to try to get a deal on new virus relief, being led here by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Mitt Romney from the Republicans and Lindsey Graham from the Republicans, as well as Roy Blunt and Senator Patty Murray from Washington. They're haggling over how to pay for $15 billion in new virus relief after it was stripped out from the government funding bill that was passed here because of pushback from House Democrats, actually, who didn't want to repurpose state and local government money, which was actually going to be clawed back for some odd reason, which really doesn't even need to happen. They don't need to take money back from stimulus money that was sent to states to help cover the spending. Republicans are insisting that any new virus relief be covered by previous stimulus package bill passed by Democrats last year. That doesn't need to happen either, but that's what Republicans are currently trying to negotiate. Republicans say, quote, his proposal is different than ours, so they're getting closer, but there's still a gap between them, says Republican Senator Mitt Romney, referring to the differences between Republicans' offer and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The current difference is how to pay for virus aid and how to cover vaccine treatment and testing, and a potential way to pay for new virus relief and funding, especially because, as you can see, this headline right here from yesterday, new virus cases tick up in some regions of the U.S., and the BA.2 variant has now become the dominant variant in the United States. And this isn't an April Fool's joke because you can see it literally here on Yahoo News and the date of March 31st. So, yeah. And the question here is that is this BA.2 variant going to have as big of a spike and a big of an impact as the BA.1 variant, which was Omicron? They call this the stealth Omicron variant or the Omicron 2 variant. And you can see here that there's a lot of different things here going on here. Virus coverage or COVID coverage for the uninsured is actually going to be ending for some people. So there's a lot of concern here. With a new surge on the horizon, federal funds for treatment and testing will no longer be made available for the most vulnerable population. And this is for the uninsured. Yeah, check this out. At the stroke of midnight here on last Tuesday, the U.S. government stopped covering the cost of new virus testing and treatment for the uninsured. Funding for the virus uninsured program established at the outset of the pandemic has run dry, and Congress has failed to replenish it. The uninsured can now be subject to ruinous medical bills after virus hospitalization, a threat that will surely drive some to avoid seeking care. Notably, one testing company has said it plans to charge uninsured patients $125 per test, a fine that will deter testing and hence disease control efforts. In 2 weeks, vaccine administration for the uninsured will also no longer be reimbursable, likely reducing timely access to vaccination. With yet another pandemic wave looming on the horizon, the evaporation of support for a disadvantaged population at elevated risk of the virus could worsen the spread and impact of this new variant. And they also say that the BA.2 variant is actually more contagious than the Omicron variant, which is when we had that huge, massive spike of over 1 million cases per day on certain days. One day we actually had 1.4 million people test positive on a single day. And remember, that didn't even include people that took the at-home tests, because remember, there's millions of at-home tests that you can get now from the store or even free from the government website that I'll remind you of. covidtests.gov, which apparently now redirects to just covid.gov/tests. But the website that I just typed in is covidtests.gov. Or you can go to covid.gov/tests. But you can now order a second round of free tests here. It's completely free. It's completely free. You don't have to put in a credit card. You just put in your name and your address. You can put an email address in there if you want to, but you don't have to. You just put in your name and your home address, and it ships right to your house. Okay, I seen some people say that their first one got lost in the mail, literally. But you want to do this because if and when you need a test, an at-home test, just to see if you have it, if and when you ever get sick, it's nice to not have to pay $25.99 or $29.99 for free. Okay, so write that down and go to the website here after this video because it's free. Yeah, and as you can see here by this headline, uninsured Americans now to be charged up to $195 per virus test by some providers, according to new reports. So, yeah. So we'll have to see with this new funding bill if that changes. So, these new funding bills, they actually they're very important because they have funding for a lot of low income Americans in stuff like this that most people don't really think of. Okay. So a lot of people don't realize this, but there's funding for testing and treatment and hospitalization for things like people that are uninsured, people that are low income, people that are poor, people that get hospitalized and can't afford it. That's just a couple things that come to mind here, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things in the bills that for Americans, that literally for Americans. So, um, yeah, and they've literally run out of money for these type of things. So, yeah. Nancy Pelosi had some harsh words for the Republicans, saying it's shameful for the Republicans to scale down virus relief. Here's what she had to say. She says that it's shameful for Republicans that are insisting upon scaling down the size of this virus relief package from 15.6 billion down to 10 billion. And the Senate negotiators indicated that they plan to drop roughly $5 billion. Um, you can let me know your thoughts here. She says either they don't care or they don't know, but it is wrong. Everyone knows none of us are safe unless all of us are safe. This is shameful. But it does note here that the Senate negotiators indicated that they plan to drop roughly $5 billion for helping boost vaccination rates in other countries. In other countries. So, if that's the case, I can understand that. So, you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But some people would probably say, I mean, we're talking about people's lives, and can you put a price on people's lives? So you can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, kind of speaking of costs, Dr. Fauci said, we may never know if costs of virus lockdowns outweigh the benefits. This is interesting because right now, China, as you can see here, has over 50 million people on lockdown amid stealth Omicron fears, which is the BA.2 variant, which is now the uh, dominant variant here in the US. I know everybody wants the virus to be away, but you know how quickly it spreads. We could literally be 2 weeks away from having a full blown another wave here in the US. China has locked down 50 million people in China. 50 million. Imagine how many states, think about even the smaller states here in the US. Imagine how many smaller states you would have to combine and take the whole population of the state to equal 50 million people in the US. That's and they're in full-blown lockdown. And I've seen reports that said if you violate their lockdown, they can imprison you for life. Yeah, China don't play around, bro. Yeah, they yeah, it's a different world over there, just like Russia. But Dr. Fauci says we may never know the costs. We may never know if costs of virus lockdowns outweigh the benefits. He says he doesn't believe it is possible to determine whether the overall costs of virus lockdowns were worth the benefits, saying, quote, I'm interested in your reluctance to use the word lockdown. 2 years on, do you think they were worth it or were they too severe? He says, I don't think we're ever going to be able to determine what the right balance is. Quote, I think the restrictions, if you want to use that word, which I tend to shy away from lockdown, China really has lockdown. I don't know if we had lockdown like China has lockdown. They have lockdown. You can't leave your house. Uh, you know, restriction might be the right word because it's not a lockdown like China had lockdown or has lockdown. They certainly prevented a lot of infections, prevented a lot of hospitalizations, and prevented a lot of death. However, Fauci noted there are unintended negative consequences, particularly in children who are not allowed to go to school, and the psychological and mental health aspects it has on children, in the economic stress it puts on society in general. One has to look at the balance of lives saved and hospitalizations avoided. And the economic, I mean, literally like 40% of small businesses went out of business, somewhere around there. And remember, this happened underneath former President Donald Trump. But I mean, honestly, if I was president, it was just such a tough call back then because we had no idea what was going to happen. It, um, it was like when Ebola came over to the country, we had no idea. My wife actually almost caught Ebola. If you, she actually told the story one time on the channel when she was on. Um, she was a bridesmaid in one of in a wedding for one of her friends, and she went to this wedding store to try on a dress, and this one lady had like flown in from like Atlanta or something and went to this bridal shop. This is like the craziest story, right? Yeah, I know you can't. Here's our episode of you can't make this stuff up, right? Right here, right now. This lady had like flown in from Atlanta, and apparently she had been exposed to Ebola and went to this exact bridal shop that my wife went to. I think I'm telling the story right. She's upstairs right now, so I'm not gonna go get her. She's gonna want to do her makeup or stuff to be on camera. You know how women are, right? Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for saying that, right? But anyway, she literally was in like the same store the same day of this lady who had been exposed and to Ebola or had Ebola. If you remember when we had that Ebola scare in the US, this had to be, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that. 12 years ago. I don't even know how many years ago, but it was, we've been together for 18 years and we've been married for like 10 years. So maybe going on 11 years now. So yeah, it was quite the scare. But I mean, imagine if you had been exposed to somebody with Ebola. That's how the virus was when it first came out. We had no idea what it was going to be like. Um, do we close the country down? Like it was just like, who knew? Who knew? And even Trump, who's like, a lot more against the virus than, say, Biden. I mean, I think that's fair to say, right? Um, if you just kind of know how Trump responds to the virus, as opposed to Biden, it's pretty fair to say, right? I don't think many people will argue with me about that in the comments. I mean, that lockdown happened underneath Trump. We just didn't know how to respond to the virus. And I mean, look at China. They're in a 50 million lockdown now in 2022. And really, that initial variant of the virus, the initial variant and the Delta variant, experts say now that Delta variant was the strongest one to actually for death. Um, that was the one that percentage wise killed the most people. So that was the worst one. So now that the Omicron one, it spreads faster. It's more infectious, and actually the BA.2 is more infectious than Omicron. I think it's the most infectious yet, um, but it's weaker in terms of death rate. So as these things mutate, they change. So um, it's more infectious but less harmful to the body, so to speak. I'm not an infectious disease expert, but this is kind of what we've learned from them, right? So, and who knows what future variants we'll have, right? Hopefully, they don't get more deadly, right? I think that's the worst thing. But I mean, the infection rate is also, I mean, not great, because when you have millions of people testing positive per day, it affects so many things. It affects our economy when you have millions of people out of work. That alone affects people. And just, I mean, when you have a lot of frail people out there as well, with people with autoimmune disease and um, various different diseases, people that are already sick, I mean, that alone can be enough to really, and plus you have a lot of people that are just really afraid of the virus as well. You think about that. Um, that affects people psychologically. You have people with long COVID now, which is actually, I believe it's a disease now that you can get disability for. So if you have what they call long COVID, I believe you can actually get disability for it. You can get disability payments for it now. So there's a lot of different things going on here in our country, um, that it's ever changing. You really think about all these different things here, and this is why there's constant funding needed for all this stuff. And I mean, when you think about that 1 million cases per day, that was just a little bit of what, a month and a half ago. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that's it." It was in the past. It really wasn't that long ago. That was February. So yeah, it's who knows? And the question here is like, are we going to continue to see this? Like, or is it going to fade away? Is it going to be here forever? Are we going to see million people per day cases again in the not so distant future? This is all this stuff is like really important stuff that lawmakers and we have to consider here as well. Um, are masks, going to be regulated in the future? All this stuff is really vaccine, all this stuff is really important stuff that the country is kind of deciding on right now. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country that you need to know about. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's literally free to do so. Just click it if you haven't. This way you're more likely to see our videos. And after clicking it, click the bell icon so you get reminders. Remember, we go live every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And also click here to see my video where we just announced the winners of the $1,000 that we just announced. And my wife's on in that video at the end of that video as well. You definitely want to watch that video. Really good video. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys. And I'll see you in the next video.